Who is liable if a self-driving or autonomous car hits and injures somebody? In this video, we're going to look at this technological advancement and figure out who to file a claim against. Hi, Barry here with the LawFull channel. On this channel, you're going to find short videos on the legal topics that affect our lives. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me. If I can't help you, I'll find someone who can. If you haven't seen the video on YouTube of the Uber fatality that happened in Arizona in March of 2018, I put a link to it in the show notes below. It doesn't show that much, but you'll quickly get the idea of what happened. Basically, a woman was walking her bike across the street when she was hit by a self-driving Uber car. She was not in the crosswalk, and it was pitch black out. These self-driving cars have sensors built into them to pick up on other objects or cars surrounding them. That way they avoid a collision. In this case, either they didn't work or they weren't able to pick up the woman walking across the street quick enough to avoid a collision. In addition, Uber had a driver operator in the car in order to override the system in this very type of situation. However, if you watch the video, you will see that immediately before impact, the driver is looking down, probably at her phone or something else in her hands. When new technology like this is developed, the company is going to have a huge fund set up in the event of a fatality or other accident. Uber's no different. They've calculated this into the cost of doing business, and Uber has significant insurance through James Rivers Insurance Company. The real tragedy, of course, is the family that lost a mother or daughter or sister. That's the real tragedy in this situation, and it's something that you don't read about too much online. So let's talk about under what theories Uber is liable. Let's talk about the real tragedy in this matter, and then I'd also like to pose the question at the end, do we really need self-driving cars? So the first question is, who is liable? Well, Uber, as the manufacturer of the vehicle, is going to be liable when a self-driving car hits somebody. There's no question about that. There are at least a couple of different theories that the family can pursue. The first is a manufacturing defect to the vehicle. As I said earlier, the sensors were supposed to pick up an object in their path, and they failed to do so. By the way, Uber contracts with many companies to provide parts for these vehicles. So there might be liability on the part of another manufacturer as well. We don't know what the relationship is between Uber and these manufacturers, but that's going to come out in future litigation. Second, the family can pursue a claim of negligence. Simply stated, the driver breached her duty of care by keeping her eyes down on her phone instead of on the road ahead. I recently read that Uber used to have 2 driver operators in every self-driving vehicle, probably for this type of situation. If one is looking down, the other one should still keep their eyes on the road. In this case, there was only one, and a tragedy resulted. By the way, there are a couple other companies making self-driving cars as well. Waymo, owned by Google, I recently read an article where they said with their technology, this accident wouldn't have happened. Regardless, it's fairly obvious that at this point, we're not ready for 100% self-autonomous vehicles. As such, I would urge all the companies engaging in self-driving vehicles to continue to have a driver-operator in their vehicle at all times. So does Uber have a defense to this accident? I think they probably do. The woman was walking across the street, outside of the crosswalk, in a pitch-black evening. As such, she probably had some comparative negligence, meaning she was partially responsible for the accident. It's pretty much irrelevant in this case, though. Uber needed to get this case out of the headlines, and as such, shortly after, they settled this case, probably for a substantial amount. So what's missing from all this coverage? Well, most of what I've read has been about Uber, self-driving cars, Tesla, and the like. There hasn't been a lot of talk about the family who lost a family member. I think that's a big mistake, and we ought to remember when we're dealing with this kind of technology, we have to keep the end user in mind. The safety of our citizens is what's most important. Uber's CEO did post a tweet about the accident, and this is what he said. "Some incredibly sad news out of Arizona. We're thinking of the victim's family as we work with local law enforcement to understand what happened. It seems sincere, despite all the attacks I read on Twitter accusing the company of choosing profits over people. The bottom line is, as self-driving vehicle technology continues to develop, we're going to see more and more accidents and fatalities as a result. Technological advancements will continue, and unfortunately, some folks are going to pay the price for it. But there's another question. Do we really need self-driving cars? I've talked with family and friends at length recently about technology and my belief that technology may have reached a point where everything we do from this point on is a little bit excessive. I mean, how much more do we need our phones to do? How much longer do we need to live? Do we really need refrigerators telling us that we're low on milk? How many more jobs are we going to lose to technological advancement? And do we really need robots thinking and acting like humans? I don't think so. Okay, it's time for your take on the law. What do you think about technological advancements? Are you looking forward to driving in a self-driving car? Has technology gone too far? Tell me about it in the comments below. Hey, thanks for checking out this LawFull video. If you like what you saw, please consider subscribing to our channel. And if you have any questions or comments, reach out to me. If I can't help you, I'll find someone who can.